I know that the politics around trade can be hard in all of our countries. Past agreements haven't always lived up to their promises. In recent decades, with the rise of globalization and technology, some workers, especially in developed countries, have seen their jobs exported abroad or replaced by automation. I've seen it in my home state of Illinois. As manufacturing plants shut down and jobs dried up over the last 2 decades. And all of this has made many people skeptical of trade agreements despite the fact that American manufacturing has added some 900,000 new jobs in the past few years, growing for the first time in more than a decade. Meanwhile, some industries that are protected from competition by subsidies or tariffs and the political interests that represent those industries often resist efforts to change the status quo. So, for all these reasons, a new trade deal like TPP can be a tough sell. But the answer is not to stop trading to try to build barriers that close any individual country. Off from the global economy. It's not possible anymore. Our economies are more integrated than ever. Companies like yours rely on global supply chains. The answer is to do trade the right way, and that's what TPP does. I've been making the case for TPP to the American people, including our Congress. Where I am confident we will get approval and move forward. I know there are similar debates in TPP countries here in Asia. And as business leaders, you can make your voices heard. So I'm Not going to recount all the reasons why this is such a good deal. But I would encourage you to remind people back home that this trade pact is a win for all of our countries. It's a win for our 12 TPP countries. By eliminating tens of thousands of tariffs, essentially taxes on goods. On each other's products, TPP removes old barriers and opens new markets. The United States is already one of the most open economies in the world. And when the high tariffs among our TPP partners come down also, it will create new opportunities for everybody. Malaysia will be able to sell more cell phones to Mexico. Singapore can sell more medicine to Peru. Vietnam will be able to sell more leather goods to Japan. The list goes on. TPP is a win for the United States. I'm not going to be shy about this. As President of the United States, I make no apologies for fighting to open markets to American companies and workers. And we've had success. US exports have reached record highs, and we know that companies that export tend to grow faster. Hire more employees and pay their workers more than companies that do not export. And so, by eliminating some 18,000 tariffs that other countries put on American exports, TPP levels the playing field for our workers and businesses. Which means American manufacturers will be able to sell more cars and trucks, equipment, and machinery. American farmers and ranchers will be able to sell more dairy, fruits, poultry and beef, and there's no steak like an American steak. You agree? The bottom line is, Americans are ready to compete. With TPP, you'll be seeing more products with that label we're so proud of, Made in America. And TPP is a win for the kind of trade that companies and workers in our countries need to compete in the 21st century. It makes sure that globalization is working for us, and not against us. For example, TPP strengthens protections for intellectual property, so innovations are less likely to be stolen or pirated. It encourages more trade in services, which is a larger and larger proportion of our economies and our workforces. As the first trade agreement to truly embrace the digital economy, it encourages e-commerce. It simplifies customs, which makes it easier for all companies to export. Especially small and medium-sized businesses that create many of the jobs in our countries and have more. Difficulty navigating through a lot of bureaucracy in trying to export to other countries. But the message I really want to deliver today is this: TPP is more than just a trade pact. It also has important strategic and geopolitical benefits. TPP is a long-term investment in our shared security and in universal human rights. I want to be very clear: trade is not a panacea. It's not a cure-all for the range of challenges our nations face. But we know from experience that when trade is done right, it can help fuel progress in other areas. Let me be specific. First, TPP will help build greater trust and cooperation among nations. We've long understood that trade can help bring countries and regions closer. Take the example of the post-World War II era. Where the free nations of Europe set out to bind themselves together in what would become the European Union. Over many decades, the United States helped fashion the international institutions and global trading. System that have stitched our economies together and helped prevent another war between major powers. There is a link between economic security and national security, and that's at the heart of ASEAN. So TPP will help to advance the economic integration that underwrites peace and stability in this region. Second, TPP will bind the United States even closer to some of our strongest allies in Asia. It's no coincidence that around the world many of our treaty allies are also some of our strongest trading partners. There's a virtuous circle. Our alliances are the foundation for our security, which becomes the foundation of our prosperity. Which allows us to invest in the sources of our strength, including our alliances. The United States has treaty obligations to the security of our allies. Japan and Australia, a long-standing defense relationships with New Zealand. With greater trade and ties under the TPP. We and our allies will be investing in our mutual security for generations to come. Third, TPP will allow the United States to forge even deeper partnerships. With countries that are playing a rising role in this region. Here in Malaysia, new starts UPS and investments in entrepreneurship have made this country a hub of innovation. Vietnam has one of the region's fastest growing economies. With greater prosperity comes greater responsibility, and both Malaysia and Vietnam are, indeed, doing more. So the United States is working with both countries to ensure maritime security. To uphold the freedom of navigation, to ensure that disputes in the region are resolved peacefully. And as they grow their economies under TPP. Malaysia and Vietnam will be able to make even greater contributions to regional security. Fourth, TPP will allow our countries, together, to write the rules for trade in the Asia-Pacific for decades to come. Our nations are more secure and more prosperous when everybody plays by the same rules. And what are those rules? We believe that economic relationships should be based not on one country simply extracting the resources of another country, but rather, as TPP envisions, economic partnerships where we encourage innovation and investment for our mutual benefit. We believe that economic disagreements should be resolved peacefully through dialogue. Not through bullying or coercion. We believe in fair competition, which is why TPP is the first trade agreement. To level the playing field between private firms and state-owned enterprises. And we believe that citizens should be able to explore new ideas and innovate, which is why TPP protects. The free flow of data and information across borders and commits our nations to a free and open internet. In this sense, with TPP, we're not only writing the rules for trade in the Asia-Pacific. We also have an historic opportunity to shape the future of the global economy. Our 12 nations comprise nearly 40% of global GDP, about a third of global trade. And already, a growing number of nations are expressing interest in joining TPP. If a country including other ASEAN countries are prepared to meet its high standards, that's a conversation worth having. And even countries that may never join TPP will have to compete in a TPP world. Giving them an incentive to raise their standards, as well. So countries will have a choice: reform and modernize, or risk getting left behind. In this way, I believe TPP will help strengthen the hand of reformers far beyond our 12 initial members. All of which means that, over time, TPP holds the promise of becoming an even more important driver of growth in the global economy. There are people back home in the United States that say America at a time when you see more emerging powers. A more multipolar world that is worried about American leadership. And sometimes I have to explain that one of the ways we're already leading is in helping to shape something like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is a prime example of America and our partners working together to shape the world we want for future generations. And this is particularly important when it comes to advancing human rights and universal values. Which are embedded in TPP. In the past, Trade agreements often have done too little in this area. And that's why we negotiated so hard for so long to get a trade pact that upholds our values. And we succeeded. TPP contains the highest trade standards ever negotiated. And with TPP, countries are already making binding commitments.